what can be common, what can sort of be easily, like Fiji's easy to get to, and I'll sort of talk about that in a bit, but it does require a little bit more of an adventurous sort of mentality, and somebody who wants to explore the world, get to know the people, and really get to know the people. So yeah, no, Alex, it's wonderful. We're ideal for it. So I'll tell you all about it in just a bit.
I'll give about 3 more minutes and then we can start, and I'll just let people in.
I'm going to quickly grab my glass of water. I filled it up and I'll be right back.
Oh, here's my favorite.
Bula.
Bula. Oh, look at your glasses. I love them.
I have the same ones as you, Susan.
I know. They're so cute. Oh, look at that. And look at that Fiji vodka in the background.
Yes. Well, I've set up all my Fiji, decor here for you, because the rest of my house is not suitable for public viewing.
Well, I'm in a rental. And so I was like,
lucky you.
And I had a meeting the other day, and then I went, oh my gosh, I haven't, like, the bed was like a disaster. And I went, I probably should turn this. But my husband and I, our joke is that he likes to make the bed every day. I could care less because we get back in it. He's been in Phoenix again. He's coming back today. So I woke up this morning and I looked at my bed. I should have taken a photo. There was the back massager, 2 remotes, my iPad, 2 pairs of glasses, 6 pillows, and the dog, and all the blankets. And I was like, I think I'll make the bed for him. Took it all off. I was like, look, I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting. So I'm going to give it about 1 or 2 more minutes. And then what we'll do is I'll just let people in, and I'll make you co-host also, Ruth. I'll introduce you guys so that everyone knows who you are. Okay. And then as people go, what I tell people to do is they chat and they ask questions, and then at the end, if you have questions, we can go too.
I was talking to Heather here, who was interested in bounty rum. I just want to introduce for the liquor fans of Fiji. Yes. This is not a new product. It's been a few years, but it's coconut vodka. And I'm a vodka girl, but this stuff stays in the fridge for special occasions because, it's heavy. I'm clearly not drinking enough of it. It's got flakes of coconut in it. So when you drink it, the coconut sort of sticks to your lips, and then you get like a little chapstick effect as it melts onto your lips. So I think it's kind of like drinking and wellness at the same time.
That's how we roll. Yes, we're all about taking care.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys go. People sometimes come in late. I know, because right now we're about halfway of the people that have signed up, and I'll go check them too. But I do want to say thank you guys for coming together. So Bob and Ruth, right now they are the Fiji Tourism Board. They are here in Los Angeles. We were going to try to meet, and of course, California closed everything down.
Shut us down again.
I know. Here we go. But I've been lucky enough to get to know them over a couple of meetings, and I really wanted to have them share with us, like, how do we get to Fiji? Why do we go to Fiji? It's an area that I've sold a little bit, but I think there is way more to it than I know, and they obviously know it. And so I wanted you guys to enjoy it. So you guys take the reins, and like I said, if you have questions, please type them out. I'll try to interject and ask them. And if not, at the end, we can always have questions too.
Susan, did you want me to share you let me know when you want me to share my screen.
You go for it. You go for it. You can share your screen.
Okay.
Well, can I just first say Bula, everybody? And I don't know where you're all at, but if you're in the West Coast, it's Bula Yandra. Good morning. Yandra is good morning. And just to introduce us, so you don't think, who are these crazy people? My name is Ruth Daly. I'm the regional manager for Tourism Fiji here in North America. Bob and I and our small team look after visitors from the United States and Canada. I first visited Fiji on a vacation as a young woman, very young woman, in the late 1980s, and have been in love with it ever since. And so was lucky enough to work in the South Pacific industry all my life. And actually, yesterday was my 6th anniversary as the regional manager at Tourism Fiji. Thank you very much. Super honored to be working for what I consider one of the most special places on earth. I'm going to let Bob do the hard work because that's what I pay him to do, and I'm just going to sit here and sip what you think is water. But Fiji is a really, really, really special place, and you know, Bob's going to tell you all about the ins and outs, but it touched my heart the first time I visited. And I'm going to tell you the story really quickly just to kick it off because it is kind of funny. I was 20 something and I was working as a Kontiki tour manager, if anybody knows what that's all about. And I had gone to Melbourne to marry the man that I thought was the love of my life, right? At 24, and I had sold everything in LA, said goodbye to my friends and family. I'm going to go start this new life in Australia. And I got down to Melbourne, and within 2 weeks, it was clearly evident that his mother did not like me, and this wasn't going to be a good match. And we said goodbye, and I was heartbroken. But I had my airline ticket on Fiji Airways, which was Air Pacific back then, to go home through Fiji. We had planned a little stop, so I did it anyway. And I arrived in Fiji, and I went to a very modest resort, First Landing, still exists. And I was heartbroken. I was devastated. You know, 24, you're a tender little thing.
And those men.
Well, I got to tell you, Susan, within 24 hours of arriving in Fiji, and just the care and the concern and the love that I felt from the Fijian people, within 24 hours, I couldn't even remember the bastard's name back in Melbourne. So I knew that Fiji was an absolute transformational place, and it has always been in my heart. It continues to be back here. Sorry, I'm not really good at this. This was my mom on her 90th birthday. We took my mom to Fiji for her 90th birthday. And when you talk to people, and I think, Susan, you were on the call where another travel agent was saying that, you know, difference between Tahiti or Fiji or whatever, what's the difference? And he said, look, when it came down to where I was going to take 50 of my closest friends and family for my birthday celebration, it was Fiji, hands down.
Yep.
So, I'll let Bob go on because Bob has been involved in Fiji for as long as I have. Bob is also a surfer and a diver. There's even a drinking game on board Fiji Airways that you can play called Where's Bob Para? But I'll tell you about that in another time because we want to let Bob get going. But
well, I was going to make one comment.
Again, everybody, huge Vanaka Vakalevu. I wish I had a better update onto when our borders will be opening. It is being considered very carefully by our government. We want to reopen our borders just as soon as we feel it is safe for the 900,000 Fijians who live, you know, scattered across our 333 islands. So most of all, it's about protecting the Fijian population. But as soon as the government, you know, feels that we're ready, we are ready to open. And I know that Americans, I keep saying, Americans have never needed Fiji more than they need Fiji now.
Yeah.
And so I'm bullish on Fiji, always have been, but particularly in a post-COVID or a COVID environment, we have everything that you want: remoteness, friendly people.
Yes.
You know, so anyway, thank you again, Vanaka Vakalevu. That means thank you very much, Vanaka Vakalevu, for joining today. I'm going to stick on, and Bob is amazing at what he does here. So enjoy, and I'll stick around, and if there's questions at the end, happy to answer. So again, Vanaka, enjoy.
Vanaka, thank you, Ruth. And Ruth, you'll actually be interjecting throughout the presentation. So I know you'll have no problem with that. And I like your background now. I know you've arranged a few pictures there. It's looking good. So well done.
I was going to say, and my favorite story that you shared, Ruth, wasn't it that you went and if you fly over the date line and it misses your birthday, you don't age?
That is correct, and that's why I'm still 39 years old. Another Dateline opportunity for business. If you leave, I know because I've done this, I took a group of girlfriends. It was the anti-Valentine's Day trip. So we left LA on February the 13th. We essentially lost Valentine's Day as we crossed the date line and got to Fiji on the 15th. So it was the anti-Valentine's. That was 2016. But anyway, okay, Bob, sorry. As he said, I will interject and go on.
Well, I did too. Poor Bob's going to be like, when am I going to start my thing?
No, that's okay, because my very next slide was actually going to introduce Ruth Daly, and I know, and I know that she's probably not very happy with that picture. She'd rather have been coupled with a local Fijian warrior, which there are plenty of, but plenty of images out there on Ruth's Facebook, including a great video at a Fiji conference that we were at. We'll share that with you as a follow-up. But welcome, everybody. Yeah, Ruth and myself are your guides today for this virtual tour of Fiji right now. Unfortunately, it's only through pictures, but you know, as we like to say, it's usually the pictures that sort of captivate visitors to come out to Fiji, but it's ultimately the people that people come back and talk about. So it's the memories of the people that they engage with. So Fiji is very much not only just visually stunning, but you'll come back changed as an individual and moved. So but let's sort of talk about just how easy this whole Fiji thing is, because, you know, like you said, Susan, the very beginning, you know, we're not a Hawaii, we're not a Mexico, we're not a Caribbean, we're very different. In that we're about small island experiences, enabling visitors to engage with the locals for that reason, because you have very intimate, very private, sort of uncrowded locales where you can visit in Fiji, which is not always available in other countries or destinations, which is fine. It's not better than, it's just different than.
Right.
So some of the basics to know about Fiji, super easy, okay? English is spoken in Fiji. A few different languages are spoken there, but everyone pretty much speaks Fiji, English in Fiji. You need to have a passport that's valid for more than 6 months beyond your return. The currency is FJD. The key thing to know about your FJD, your Fijian dollar, is that you gain great value because the exchange rate is 2 to 1. So 100 Fijian dollars is 50 US dollars, and just do the math as you move on up. So great value to be had in Fiji. One of the things that I want to make sure that you all know is that we are absolutely connected. We have Wi-Fi, because I know if you come to Fiji, you want to let everybody know that you're in Fiji. And so as soon as you land, as soon as you board the aircraft, you can start snapping photos and sending them off to your followers or whatnot. But once you're in Fiji, you'll be able to keep in contact with your friends, with your family, because we are connected throughout Fiji. So, and when's a good time to come to Fiji? Any time of year is a good time to come to Fiji. They see the more wetter months tend to be anywhere from maybe late November through the end of March, early April. Which means that it's likely to rain during that time, but even during that rainy season, you're going to see the sun come out at some point in the day. And even with that rainy weather, it never changes the temperature of the ocean, really. So you can hop into the ocean, snorkel, scuba dive, stand up paddle anytime that you like. Okay, so another thing I'll say is that you know, even though we do speak English in Fiji, there are some key words to know when you're in Fiji. And you probably just want to know maybe 2 or 3 of these, and you're going to be absolutely fine. Make friends with everybody. Hello is bula, which you'll just hear as soon as you board Fiji Airways aircraft on your way to Fiji. Mode means goodbye. Please is kere kere, or keri keri is how it's pronounced. Excuse me is tulo. Thank you is vinaka, and which, you know, Ruth kept on saying right now, vinaka, for joining us. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And sotatale means that we'll see you again. More of a casual way of see you later. So But other than that, you're fine. With your English and your knowledge of Fiji after this, you're going to be just fine. So why Fiji? There's 3 key reasons why we like to say you should go to Fiji. One, it's easy to get to. There are daily flights out of Los Angeles. There were daily flights out of Los Angeles prior to COVID on Fiji Airways. And it's direct nonstop. Also, 3 days a week they were flying out of San Francisco. But what's great about this, regardless of how many flights we have per week, is that the schedule works out wonderful. So as long as you can get to LAX airport between 7 and 8 in the evening, that flight won't leave till about 10:30, 11:30 at night. You land in Fiji 10 hours later after a good sleep. You've watched a few movies on the aircraft, had some complimentary dinner, cocktails, Fiji water, you name it. And before you know it, you're in Fiji. You land in Fiji before the sun rises about 5:30 in the morning. By the time you deplane, you'll see the sun coming up over the aircraft. You'll go through customs, collect your baggage, and you're out on your way to your resort. Whether it's on mainland Fiji or on an outer island, you're probably going to be at your resort by breakfast time. Extremely easy to get to.
The easy way to go. That's similar with Tahiti. And I have to tell you, it's a very easy way to travel. Much easier than doing it change, and stuff like that. That's hard to do.
Well, and it's a good way to maximize your time, particularly if you're a couple. Maybe you got married on a Saturday. The very next day, you're out on Sunday. You're pretty tired. And by the time you board the aircraft and you're up in the air, you have your first dinner, it's close to midnight. Most people are sleeping. Even if it's a broken sleep, you're sleeping and resting most of the time. So you're fresh by the time
you get. And you said it's about a 10-hour flight from LAX to...
It is. But again, that schedule really helps pass the time. 10 hours never feels like 10 hours. Now, Alex, as a potential honeymoon couple, I'll say this. Yes, ideal. Fiji is ideal for honeymooners. But know this. We also cater to families. We cater to adventurers, multi-generational travelers, any sort of associations, tour groups, you name it. Yes, ideal for honeymoons just because of the fact that we're small private islands, that sort of experience, but we have something available for everybody. Yep. And just so you know, Alex, too, we have adult-only resorts too. So we have those that cater to everyone, but then those who just cater specifically to adults. And then finally, the third reason.
I have adult children, and I'm like, you guys still need to go over there.
So here's the thing. Here's the biggest point of difference between us, Hawaii, Tahiti, the Caribbean, and Mexico is because the people here are from villages. Essentially, every resort that you stay at, it's all staffed by the local Fijian villagers, which that village is usually within a kilometer or 2 of this resort. So you're constantly engaging with the locals, such to a point that Fiji is transformational. It'll change your outlook. It'll change your outlook on how you look to travel in the future after you have this close of an experience with the locals and you become a part of their family. It'll be sort of the way that you gauge how all future travel should be, in that you're interacting with locals, and they are in turn passing on their knowledge and their culture and experiences onto you and wanting to share those experiences with you, which is not often possible at larger resorts or destinations that cater to the masses, because they just simply don't have time or the staff to be able to give you individualized experiences. You know, whether you're doing it with them or whether you're just asking them for guidance of, hey, where's the best place to dive? Where's the best place to fish? Where's the best place to surf? I'd like to go visit a village. I'd like to go to a waterfall. They'll give you all that insight and probably offer to escort you as well. One of the things I just quickly want to touch on, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the cost, but I will say this, just to give you a general idea. We have everything from budget to mid-range to exclusive luxury and super ultra high-end luxury. One of our more sort of a solid 4-star resort properties that is a good representation of what Fiji's about. One resort on one island. So this is Castaway Island, Fiji. Easy to get to once you land in Fiji. But 7 nights in general will cost you, start off at $29.95 per person. That's for 7 nights. And that, excuse me?
Is that with air or is that just the hotel?
Yes, that is. Now that's economy. And then one thing I want to note too, and I'll talk about that about Fiji Airways, their business class. Business class generally starts anywhere from 4,000 on up, with specials throughout the year starting as low as 3,500, okay, or under. So it's really great value as far as a business class seat is concerned, because these are lay flat beds, state of the art, all brand new. And I'll talk about that a little more. Let's go up a little bit more. This is a solid 5-star property on an outer island of Fiji. And when I say outer island, I'll tell you a little bit more of why I call it outer island as opposed to mainland and what the differences are. This is the Maui Resort and Spa. And Alex, this is an adults-only example of a resort, okay? So no one under the age of 18 permitted. 7 nights at $59.99, and this is Fiji's only all-inclusive resort, because this is another difference between us and other destinations. We rarely have all-inclusive. We'll have meal-inclusive usually. The reason that we don't include everything is because there's so much to do in Fiji, and to prepay for a lot of F&B that you may not be fully taking advantage of, because you want to go on a hike, because you want to go out and paddle to an uninhabited island. You want to have the flexibility to spend as you wish. But this is one of the few resorts that does actually offer unlimited, usually top shelf alcohol, wine, champagne, not only in their rooms, but at the different resorts. So it's great value for money right there. 7 nights, really amazing. So, so now let's just talk about, I mentioned earlier, yes, it's 10 hours from LA or San Francisco to Fiji, but just an overnight flight, fall asleep on the West Coast, wake up in Fiji. And of course, Fiji Airways has agreements with all carriers throughout the US. So easy to get those add-on flights to LA or San Francisco. We also, Fiji Airways also serves onward flights to Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, and has 2 to 3 flights a week from Hawaii as well. So the neat thing about Fiji Airways is they just got a brand new aircraft. It delivered in December, July, just before we all huddled inside our homes. But it's a brand new A350 aircraft. That new airplane smell will last a little bit longer now that no one's in them. But once they do fly, man, this is lay flat beds, 32 seats in business class, and even back in economy, it's all state of the art. Every seat has its own touch screen, video screen. Like I said, complimentary dinner, breakfast, champagne, Fiji beer, wine, water, you name it. Okay, so just something to pass the time when you're out there. It's a great aircraft. And also just the airport is also state of the art. The main airport in city you'll land in is Nadi, Fiji, is in Nadi. So Nadi Airport. This is an interior shot of the business class lounge of Fiji Airways. Okay, so now the basics is that there are 333 islands in Fiji. So again, a big difference between us and some other island destinations in that although we have 333 islands there, about a third of those are actually inhabited. Most of them are uninhabited. And about a third of those that are inhabited might actually have an accommodation, which means that you have room to spread out forever. There's never overcrowding, never over tourism. The experience is essentially yours. So if it's your honeymoon, your family experience, it literally is almost just yours and yours alone on that island. Okay, so so ideal during this time of COVID and social distancing, which is a big concern that we all have. So just keep that in mind. 333 islands, only a third are inhabited with people. So I showed you that general map. I'm going to sort of move around that map and tell you, okay, We know that it's easy to get to Fiji. What do we do once we get there? We sort of have an idea of price, that sort of thing. But what do we do once we get there? So on the mainland, which is where you land, it's called BT Lebu. This is the big island. Okay, and you're going to land in Nadi International. And from there, if you're landing at 5:36 in the morning and exiting customs between 6:30 and 7, those first flights out to those outer islands start as early as 7 a.m. in the morning. But if you're staying close to mainland, then you'll have an opportunity to probably immediately start to connect either to an outer island within the hour of you landing, or start your ground transfers to another part of mainland. Okay, so we'll kind of move around this area. It's really neat, by the way you do get around in transfer, just because Fiji is so scenic, just by virtue of the way it's laid out. So when you're transferring out there, if it's by the domestic carrier, Fiji Link, Fiji Airways domestic carrier, you're going over these great landscapes. I mean, flying over uninhabited islands and sand keys and whatnot. You might decide to take a private charter depending on your budget or depending on where it is you want to go. And where you want to splurge or not. Now, if you want to go big and dramatic and arrive on a small, tiny private island by helicopter, you can do that too. You can reach the Mamanuthas within 15 minutes on a helicopter ride if you wanted to do that. It's absolutely gorgeous. Or you could take a catamaran, which is just wonderful too, because when you're on this catamaran, you're out in the open water. It may just take you anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half to get to these outer islands. And you're passing uninhabited islands, inhabited islands, and multiple reefs just beneath the surface. So the water is absolutely stunning on your transfer out there. Or you might want to hire a speedboat to get out there a little faster and maybe have a little bit more privacy. So where you land in Nadi, you can immediately, if you require a ground transfer or a taxi, available right at the airport. Susan can book these for you if you wish, or if it's someplace close by where the resort may just be 10, 15 minutes away, you can hire a taxi. Taxis maybe just cost anywhere from $10 to $20 to get, within 15 or 20 minutes away from the airport, if that's where you're going upon arrival. But state-of-the-art shuttles also available for groups, air conditioning, Wi-Fi available within many of these shuttle options. One of the first visuals that you'll get as you exit Nadi International Airport is this right here. It's Fiji's sleeping giant. Yes, we have a sleeping giant too, where you're viewing the mountain and it looks like there's a sleeping giant. But at the foot of this, there's all sorts of wonderful activities that can be had. There's a waterfall, an orchid garden started by Raymond Burr 30, 40 years ago, where he's created just this massive orchid garden. And like I said, there's a waterfall close by. There's horseback riding. There's mud baths around this whole area as you immediately exit Nadi and the airport. So all of this is within 20 minutes of you landing. You can start your experiences. Always a traditional village to visit in just about every region of Fiji. And this is a must-do, and I'll talk about that a little more. Fiji is multicultural, multiracial. It's everything, but about 40% of the population in Fiji is Indo-Fijian. There are Indians that came to work the sugarcane fields brought over by the British in the 1800s. Since then, obviously, they got their independence and have become pillars of the business society and owners of several companies in travel, banks, whatnot. But there's also, you can see it in the religion and the color of Fiji, and the food is reflected throughout your experience in Fiji. And this is one of the temples that's close on the way that you'll pass by on the way from the airport to Port Denarau.
Hey Bob, I was wondering, do people rent cars and feel comfortable driving, or is it more?
Okay, so I've been going for 20 years, Susan, and I have never rented a car. Now, that being said, there are people who just like to rent cars and do that. But most of your clients, I believe, and I would recommend, they they can spend time on the mainland and get some adventure out of the way, but then go to an outer island where you don't need a car at all.
Oh,
If
gotcha.
you're going to spend a few days on the mainland, yes, but know this: you're driving on the left side of the road, and if
Right.
you feel comfortable with that, then do it.
Probably
But
in a
I just,
car.
I think you'll spend as much money hiring somebody to drive you as you would renting a car on your own, and it's just safer. And you want to sit in that passenger seat in their back seat, snapping photos, taking in the scenery. Because, like I said, the transfer to these other areas is a visual excursion in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
Now, I mentioned Port Denarau earlier, and that's because this is, as you're going out to those outer islands and the Mamanuthas and the Asawas, if that's where you choose to stay, Port Denarau, where you will catch your boat transfers and catamarans out to those outer islands, is just 20-25 minutes away from Nandi International Airport. There's all sorts of day cruises that can be had from Port Denarau too. You can hire somebody, you can rent snorkel gear here at Port Denarau. You can find an operator who will take you water skiing or perhaps kite surfing, but everything can be found at Port Denarau or Denarau Marina, again, which is just 25 minutes away from Nandi International. We're also home to 3 championship golf courses. This right here's a picture of Natandola Bay Golf and Racket Club. Absolutely stunning. 15 out of the 18 holes are looking out at the South Pacific. There's also Natandola Bay, Port Denarau Golf and Racket Club 2, 18-hole championship golf course with views of the ocean as well from certain holes out there as well. And then we have a third one out in Pacific Harbor, which I'll talk about, which is a mainland area as well. Now we're going to move around the coast now to an area called Coral Coast, Pacific Harbor, and Suva. Now these are all still on mainland Viti Levu. This is, again.
Most people go to the outer islands, or do they?
Yes,
yeah,
they do. They do. I'm giving you an overview of things you can do on the mainland and tell you how you can maybe combine this with an outer island experience. Outer islands is where I encourage most North Americans to go out and visit, because that really is that small island experience. That being said, this is really wonderful in that you've got these great tours. This is an example of an EcoTrax rail tour where you can sit on a motorized bike that has been harnessed onto a former sugarcane railway. It would transport sugar canes throughout mainland Viti Levu, but now you can tour the island on these, and you're passing through rainforests, interiors of Fiji, many rural areas. Then all of a sudden you'll pop out on the coast and you'll find just these wonderful grottos, caves, white sand dunes that go on forever. So this is a really neat way to explore the mainland's shores and coastal areas. There's something for families here, for children. We have a couple of zoos. This is the Kula Eco Park that show you some of the indigenous animals and creatures that can be found in Fiji. And then this is one of my favorite activities. This is Singatoga River Safari, and I like it because it's soft adventure. It's great for a couple. It's great for a family. Not only for this adventure activity you're going to get, but if you look at that beret behind you, what they do is after about 20 minutes of jetting down the interior of Viti Levu, you will stop at a traditional Fijian village. Maybe sit down and drink kava with the chief, sing some of their traditional songs, learn some of their local dances. But this is where you really feel like you get a really good understanding of where this culture comes from and why they are the way they are. Very humbling just to see how much the Fijians truly love and appreciate the land that they have. I mean, because as you're going down the resort, as you're going down the river, you have Fijians and farmers and kids waving from the side of the river, bula, bula, and they've got their backpacks over their heads as they're crossing the river to get to their school that day. It's absolutely stunning, and it's moving because you'll wave bula back to them because you just can't avoid it. I mean, you just feel the love pouring out as you're going down the river. So it's great soft adventure mixed with culture. If you want to be, if you like that four-wheel experience, we have that too. Obviously, Fiji is conducive to people who like that sort of natural terrain. You can take this up into the rainforest, go through rivers, visit caves as well. I mentioned sand dunes that can be found here, and they're absolutely stunning. You've got all sorts of people going out here and still discovering pottery and bones and artifacts that have been here for centuries. They're just a really neat area. We move a little bit further along the coast until we reach Pacific Harbor. What you should know between that point, when you're leaving Nadi or Port Denarau, going all the way up past the Coral Coast into Pacific Harbor, all sorts of accommodations of all levels available, whether again it's budget for family, budget for couples, adventurers, youth, all available in there, available on the beach, or could be facing a rainforest or built up into a rainforest.
Ooh, okay.
Another great activity is river rafting. This reaches up to grade 3 water level rapids. Most of the time it's really calm and you can really just kind of coast down there, and sometimes you're going through these large gorges that are absolutely stunning and calm water, and then you'll hit some of these more rapidy sort of areas. But it's neat because you'll stop and have lunch. You'll have the Fijians will of course be your escorts, and they'll have packed lunch for you and drinks and juices and that sort of thing. And at the end of the day at a waterfall, and you can swim under the waterfall. There's zip lines out here. There's some of the best diving in the world in Fiji, whether you're soft coral diving, looking for tropical fish, or for your hardcore divers who are checking those boxes of swimming with sharks. One of the best shark feeding programs in the world. It's located in the same area just off of Pacific Harbor called Bengal Lagoon. Again, you need to be certified for this experience, but it's absolutely for divers. Again, we are the soft coral capital of the world, but we have these type of creature experiences available as well. Or if you just like to snorkel, snorkeling right off the beach of your resort is ideal. You can do it in just about every resort that you're staying at. So, I mean, you go out, you have your snorkel gear at your buoy and all week long, and just go out and snorkel and explore every day. Every resort, every region will offer a cultural experience, whether it's on the resort or close by to a resort. So you have multiple opportunities to go and visit these villages. And this is one in Fiji's capital. It's called Suva. This is the Fiji Natural Museum. And this is not a place, Susan, that people usually go to. They don't usually go to the capital of Fiji. This is more of a commercial center, a lot of government offices. This is obviously where the government is located here. And so if you happen to be in this area, maybe pop in here, but not usually a place most beginners who come out to Fiji will visit. We're going to move further along. We're on the northern part of VT Levu. Just know this, amazing snorkeling, great kite surfing out here. There's some wonderful hiking trails out here by an operator called Telenoa Tracks. And all those diver down signs you see out there are where you can find world-class diving with some of the best coral and largest coral reefs in the world that you'll find anywhere. So just a wonderful area called the Blind Waters, and here's an example of the of hiking up into the highlands of Fiji, where you'll be staying in traditional Fijian villages, thatched roof buoys, that sort of thing, and you can hike for 3, 5, 7 nights. Great for the youth. And then out in the outer islands of the Mamanuthas, just absolutely some of the best surfing. You can hire a private charter, fishing charter to do some deep sea fishing if you like, or just take you out to go dive. So there's another marina close by to Port Denarau, or close within an hour's drive of Port Denarau is Vunda Marina. It's another marina where you can hire and take transfer out to the outer islands. Now this is really neat. This is opened up in the last year. It's the Drew experience where you can get this from Denarau Marina. And if that design looks a little familiar, it's because it was a design that you would have seen maybe in Moana. Even if you didn't see the movie, you maybe saw a picture of the boat. What they used in that movie is sort of an aggregate of all those boats that were created in the South Pacific. But this is our version of a Drew, and you can go out as a couple and have a honeymoon, a wedding ceremony out here. Go for a nice excursion out to an uninhabited island. This is really neat and captures Fiji's true identity and history and culture. We also we don't have a whole lot of cruising in Fiji, but we do have small ship cruising, which we know is important at this time because we don't have the big mega ships out there. So if you look at Blue Lagoon cruises or Captain Cook cruises, this is wonderful value. They have 3, 5, 7. They have a 12-day cruise that goes throughout all of Fiji, and you're passing hundreds of islands out here. But what's really neat is Blue Lagoon. You know, they may just have anywhere between 100 and 120 rooms. Same with Captain Cook cruises. So these are small ship cruises where you're stopping at tiny uninhabited islands, having lunch out here, snorkeling all day, stand-up paddling, kayaking, you name it. Now, I mentioned earlier, the closest chain of islands are the Mammoth Islands, and you'll get out there, like I mentioned, catamaran, helicopter, private charter. But I want to show you an example of an uninhabited island. This is Riekki Island in the Mammoth. Just about you'll be there within an hour, hour and a half. But anyway, Riekki Island is an uninhabited island you can visit. This is where the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks was filmed, and you can
Wilson.
Yeah, there you go. And by the way, you will see a Wilson out here for sure. There will be a Wilson that somebody has left behind, and lots of shredded coconuts out here because everybody's got to have that coconut experience when they're out on Riekki. You can time it to where like maybe you're one of the only few out here, and that's where you can check with the resort and say where are the off hours where there aren't so many people coming out here.
Mm-hmm.
Other than this island, because Castaway was filmed here, that uninhabited island that you see off in the distance from your resort can be yours, where it's just you and your significant other or you and your family. You just go to the activity desk, ask them to go take you to one of those inhabited islands, pack a picnic basket, Fiji water, some champagne, some wine, and ask them to pick you up in a couple of hours, or you'll call them back when you want them to come and get you.
It feels like I'm on The Bachelor then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, you're taking me on a date to a private island?
That's, I know. I mean, well, and here's another one. This is just like, you can practically swim to this island from Riekki, and to make it confusing, this one is pronounced Riekki. So you got Riekki and Riekki, but just know they're right next to each other. And,
wow.
And again, both uninhabited. Absolutely beautiful, great place to snorkel or dive. But here you can just snorkel. I wouldn't dive here. This is just relax and snorkel on this one and take in all the starfish and tropical fish and what have you. This is an example of where you can picnic, not only on those volcanic uninhabited islands, but even on some of these sand keys. You can have them pack you an umbrella and picnic from the sand key. We have something out there called Cloud 9, which is basically a floating platform out here, can accommodate up to 80 guests on here. This is just something where you'll take a day trip out here, spend maybe 2 or 3 hours out here, have some pizza that was made in a wood-fired pizza burning oven. They have a bar, they have music, they snorkel gear. You can bring your own gear if you like and just spend the afternoon out here, jumping off the platform or swimming underneath. It's really neat way to come out, truly relax. Or if you are not into relaxing, you want to stay active, we have probably the top 3 to 5 surf spots in the world of surf break called Cloudbreak. And it is primarily, you'll see a lot of professionals out here, but there are many surf breaks in and around Cloudbreak that are for all levels of surfers. Okay, so reach out to Susan. She'll have lots of information on this. And
have you surfed that, Bob?
I have, and I was nowhere close to this wave that this gentleman is on right now. I was on a baby wave, and even at that, I was scared to death. on it, just because it's Fiji and it's just got this wonderful reputation. But it's so much fun. That being said, there's other places where you can go to Jolla Bay. It's a small private bay where there's only 1 or 2 resorts. There's practically nobody on it. Little ankle-high waves out there where you can learn how to surf. And there are several locations like this in Fiji where you can do this.
That's awesome.
And not feel self-conscious about falling over and over and over again, because nobody knows you in Fiji and there's practically nobody out there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All levels of accommodations in the Mamanuthas, from budget family to ultra 5-star properties out here as well. So just a range of accommodations. Many of them, most of them are one resort on one island. And here's an example of one resort on one island where you can have a champagne at sunset and look off at what is called Honeymoon Island, which is uninhabited, but this resort offers daily picnics for couples to go out there if they like. Take it on over. We're going to move up to the Asawas, which is even more remote than the Mamanuthas. Easy to get to, though. You can go by catamaran. It'll take about a good 2 to 3 hours to get out there, or the easiest way to do it is by a charter aircraft as well, if you want to get there out. But what's really neat about this area is you truly see those white sandy beaches, and not a lot of these resorts are inhabited. Some of them might just have 1 or 2 resorts on them, but it's absolutely stunning in that it's filled with all sorts of manta rays and wonderful tropical fish. So for the adventurer, or for those who really want to disconnect from it all, but still have all the creature comforts that you want from a pampering vacation available in the Asawas. There's a perfect example of an intimate setting where you can just really separate yourself from everyone else. And just know this, it doesn't have to be on the beach right here. Like I said, it could be on an outer island. It could be at the end of a jetty. It can be on the back of your beret as well. And when I say beret, this is your bungalow or your villa.
Yeah, accommodation. Yep.
This is Sawai Lau. This is a salt limestone cave that is located up there. You can go up there, and people like to go out here and swim and explore, but it's really unique. It's just the way it looks, and it's a must-do when you come to Fiji. Must-see, rather. And like I said, because there's so many manta rays out here, I've actually landed on Yasawa Island and could see from the airplane little manta rays kind of floating out there. So wonderful out here. White tips, by the way, are non-aggressive, smallish sharks, so that if you just want to snorkel and say, hey, I saw a shark or interacted with a shark, just don't mention that you swam with the more non-ferocious, unaggressive ones, and show them a picture where it's at this angle. They'll think you swam with some big old shark. But again, it's safe out here. If you just want to snorkel off of the beach, you can do that with family. I've done that with my family, or go out there and explore as a couple. And always, every single location out here, you'll be able to engage and listen to some of the local songs and dance. Another super remote area, we're going to move down to the south of Iti Levu in Kandavu, and the way you'll get out here is through Fiji Airways domestic carrier Fiji Link, or you might just, some of these resorts have their own aircraft that could cater and take your clients out there. But this is known for its snorkeling and diving, and for those who really want to get off the grid. I mean, this really has preserved the true purity of Fiji, in that there's practically hardly anybody out here. So if you dive, you don't have to worry about your reef being over dove. We have the 4th largest reef in the world called Astrolab, located here in Kandavu, in a range of accommodation here, from backpackers all the way up to ultra luxury. And again, all sorts of creatures. So if you don't dive and you just want to snorkel and see what's out here in the water, you can just snorkel and have the activity desk take you some of the better places. All sorts of waterfalls and waterfall hikes to be found in Kandavu. Now, we're going to move to the northern islands of Fiji, which is probably North America's most popular place to visit. And we hear that 80% of North Americans are going to the Fiji's northern islands. The reason they do this is because North Americans, when they think of Fiji, really do want to get away from it all. They don't want to be in the crowds, and this is what the northern islands offer, just like the other areas I just mentioned, by the way. But if you sort of want those individualized, tailored experiences that Susan can help you with, like, you know, I do want to have that private picnic out on an outer island. I do want to make sure that I take a stand-up paddle safari through some of the surrounding areas or past some of the mangroves, or a private dinner out on the beach. All this can be arranged and maybe have nobody close to you when you're doing this. So Vanuatu takes about an hour, 15, hour and a half to fly from mainland Viti Levu to reach Vanuatu. You'll fly Fiji Airways domestic carrier Fiji Airways, take a private charter, different ways to get out here, but it's absolutely stunning. Perfect example. This just captures what the North is like. You know, this is Sabu Sabu and Natewa Bay. You land in the city of Sabu Sabu. That's the airport out there, tiny, about the size of a house at this airport, but that's all you need, because again, you don't, once you arrive at your resort, you never leave that resort, except when you ask the activity desk maybe to take you to do some of the activities that are close by, which I'll talk about right now. Now, obviously, this is really the reason why Fiji is the soft coral capital of the world. Some of the best diving, and even again, if you snorkel, you're going to see lots of what the divers are talking about over there. This is one of my new favorite experiences up in the north. This is the Salt Lake River, what some people call the Lazy River. You can kayak paddle down the river, stand up paddle. You can even just put on a life vest, float on your back with a glass of champagne or Fiji water up in the air, and just float for 20 minutes. As you're going down the river, you open out on a lake called the Salt Lake, Fiji. We have a Salt Lake too. And in the middle of that lake is a platform, a floating platform, where you can take a float out to that platform, put down an ice chest, open it up, and have all your goodies in there stored to spend the afternoon in, and then they'll take you back by boat back to where you launched from. Now, this is available through all your resorts in Fiji. So there's a good dozen or more resorts just close by to Sabu Sabu, and all of them will offer excursions, whether it be stand-up paddling, whether it be going out to river. All resorts have paddy centers or hire someone as a third party to come in and take them on their dives. Numerous waterfall hikes and rainforests available throughout Sabu Sabu, and a range of accommodations, whether it's a resort that just has 2 or 3 villas, whether or not it's a family-friendly resort like this one. This is actually Jean-Michel Cousteau Resort. Great for families and honeymoon couples, because they've done a wonderful job separating the kids club from a lot of the adult activities. So adults, mom and dad, can be husband and wife again and have a really nice date while their kids are off watching movies or collecting shells at night with one of the babysitters or nannies. Okay. So every resort that is open to families has their own kids club, so that you can have your own nannies and babysitters available, and very inexpensive. And I'm talking $5 per child usually. Sometimes that's Fijian, or $2.50 per hour. And all sorts of ranges of accommodations out here. I mean, you got them up in the rainforest, you have them on the beachfront, or you have them on Edgewater. Just arranged. By the way, Susan, this resort is called Koro Sun, and this is also maybe about 20 minutes away from Sabu Sabu as well. And all sorts of romantic locations to have dinner on, a nice date, and look out at the Pacific from. Or maybe you just want to have a nice massage, couples massage up in the rainforest spa. Another popular area for Americans for the same reason is Taveuni, which is the 3rd largest island in Fiji after Vanuatu and Viti Levu. It's called the Garden Island because it's so lush. Again, hardly anybody out here, which is what appeals to North Americans because they do want to have sort of that really intimate romantic couples experience, or family who's looking to have their own sort of tailored experience as well. Also, this probably has the most most waterfalls in Fiji. This is the Bowman National Heritage Waterfalls, and just maybe takes 25 minutes to get from where you launch from to get out to these waterfalls. But they're just located just about anywhere if they're at Taveuni. So it's not only just the water sports, but if you turn away from the beach and head up into the rainforest, there's all these wonderful activities available for you. This is Waitavala, which I've done this before. So this is one of the drinking games that Ruth mentioned before. Is there's a video on the aircraft that shows you going down this people going down this water slide. I'm one of those people who's going down in the end. And it's absolutely cool. It's nature that has carved this water slide out of rock. No human hands have had anything to do with the way this water slide works. And it's just neat. And again, another great idea of why Fiji is great, not just for its water activities, but also for the land-based activities. This is the Great White Wall. Not so white right now, but just around the corner is an area called the Great White Wall, where it's just bright, beaming, phosphorescent white coral that is just shining back at you. This is some of the best diving in the world. And then this is something that anyone can do if you come up to Taveuni. This is Horseshoe Bay. Actually, if you're staying at the Tangi Island Resort, this is an example of a private island. This is one resort on one island. No other resorts on this island. On the other side of this Horseshoe Bay is the resort where many of the bures are up in a tree, elevated up on a hillside, up in the trees, looking out at the water. Absolutely stunning. You can have them take you in a boat to Horseshoe Bay, where you and your significant other, maybe a couple of other couples, but hardly anybody out here, and you've taken over this bay. They have stand-up paddle gear here, kayaks, snorkel gear. Just hang out and take it over for the whole day. It's also listed as top 1,000 places to visit before you die. An example right here of what a traditional bure in Fiji looks like right here. So it really is those thatched huts. And this is why we encourage people to go to the outer islands, because the outer islands is where you'll get a lot of that authentic Fiji, and where you'll feel like it's really yours experience and yours alone. Here's an example of the tree houses on Matangi that I showed you earlier as well.
Wow.
And then you can go ultra luxury, and this is also up in Taveuni. This is owned by the owner of Red Bull. This is called Ladala. This is truly a 6-star property. This is for your ultra luxury experience. So again, Fiji has it all. And then obviously these areas too offer culture and local experience as well. So I've gone through every area here, but again, I want to emphasize how it all comes down to the people, okay? Because this is ultimately the image you'll be left with. It's all the Fijians waving Nisa Mode as you leave here. Ruth will tell you, when you arrive, many of the people know Ruth when you come to Fiji. So, they'll be singing her the Bula Malaya song as you arrive on the property, as you're approaching the island shores. As you're approaching the shores, you got the entire staff singing the Bula Malaya, or the welcome song. And then when you leave the island or the resort, they're singing the Isale. And it's happy tears that are coming down as you leave Fiji. But because the people are so wonderful, we've actually created a whole program behind that, just sort of advocating the idea that people in Fiji may not be monetarily rich, but we're rich in happiness, and we will share that with you all once you come to Fiji. And these are examples of different billionaires that live throughout Fiji, and every single property in Fiji has their own dedicated billionaire. Here's an example of the billionaire from one of the properties up in Savu Savu called Namale. And in every resort, again, has a dedicated billionaire. But really, every Fijian that you'll meet, she is worthy of that status of title of billionaire. But we did this just to emphasize that this is really our biggest point of difference between us and other destinations. We feel it's the experience of the people just as much as it is as taking in the visual. Okay, I mean, which is a lot of the reasons why we do this. So, Susan, Banakabakalegu and Sotatala, like I said, hopefully we'll see you all soon. We're open to questions from either you, Susan, or anybody else who's tuning in here.
Well, Bob, that was awesome. I would say that I was floored at how diverse and unique it is. I think I didn't realize you guys had the rainforest, that you have all these activities. It's stunning. I can't wait to go. I think because we went through all the different areas, I think while you said that North Americans go to the North Islands, it appears that almost it felt like you could get that experience almost anywhere, or am I mistaken?
Ruth, what do you, I mean, because this same thing can be done at Kondabu, can be done at the Lamanuthas and the Asawas.
The experience with the people is ubiquitous throughout Fiji. So generally when you build a resort, you are required by law to employ villagers from the local village. So every resort can offer you the opportunity to go into the villages. The uniqueness of the Fijian people and their hospitality is again, you'll feel it as soon as you walk off the plane. Fijians are yeah, they're really interesting. They're almost Buddhist in their thinking that tomorrow doesn't, yesterday happened. It doesn't really matter about anything. And tomorrow is in God's hands. Okay. As our colleague Vani, our crazy Fijian colleague, always says, in Fiji, everything happens eventually, God willing. Okay. So they just sort of have that, like, tomorrow is outside of my control. So it's all about today.
Yeah.
And they really embody that. Live for today, have fun. Fijians love to sing, dance, and have fun. And when Bob and I sit in our head office, it's a very serious, head office, but I'm telling you, those people are having fun all day long. There's laughter throughout the day. It's just fun. I mean, even maids, when they're cleaning rooms, you hear them singing. And I mean, Fiji is one of the few places on earth where a maid will come and be cleaning your room and will sit down on the floor and talk to you for 20 minutes and ask you questions about your family. And that's okay. I mean, the resorts encourage that. Yeah. You can imagine some maid at a Hilton in Vegas sitting down for 20 minutes. So yeah, it's you can find it anywhere from the bigger resorts, down to the smaller resorts, but it's ubiquitous, and it's what really makes it special.
And so so when you're looking at where you want to go, the experience of the people is the same, like you said, but you're looking at the islands and stuff is really more about how more remote they are. I get that it could also be like a 4, 5, 6 star, but it's more about like how remote and how private they are.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you go out to so the Coral Coast, that southern coast, is where our larger resorts are located. There's a big Marriott down there. There's an Intercontinental. There's a Shangri-La, all lovely, excuse me, that's a spam call, as they all are these days. So the Coral Coast is favored a lot by families and Australian, New Zealand families. It's great for swimming. It's very family friendly. And it also has those large resorts that a lot of, families like. So a lot of times what an American will do is say, go down to the Marriott for a couple nights and you can do the Singatoka River Safari. You can do some of that exploration of the mainland, but then get out of Dodge and go out to one of our islands, because that is what really makes Fiji different from places like Hawaii. Because when you go out to the Mamanuthas and the Asawas and up to the north, these resorts are mostly under 30 rooms, and many of them are under 20 rooms. Some of them are under 10 rooms. So that's why you go out to the islands. It's a completely different experience. And I mean, one of our problems, it's one of the best things about Fiji, but it's also one of our challenges, is that these resorts are all independently owned, locally owned, and so they don't have, you've got to figure out which one is right for you. and for your clients or for, you know, for your family, whatever. And that's what Bob and I can help with. That's what a great travel agent like you, Susan, can help somebody find, because there truly is the right resort for different interests at the right price point for everybody.
Right.
There are some amazing resorts up in the Asawas that have prices. We just figured it out. It's $50 a night per person, including breakfast and Wi-Fi, which for a couple in LA, it's cheaper than living in LA. I'm just saying. You know, right up to, Bob talked about some of our ultra exclusive resorts like Vatuvara, which is where Harry and Meghan stayed when they visited Fiji last year. So there's something for everybody, and yeah. So that's what's great about Fiji, but it also just makes it a little bit harder to figure out because we're not dotted with Hyatts and, you know, Marriott.
No, but that's great, like you said, because that's the person that's looking for this unique experience.
Right. And so we do have big box hotels, great place to stay, get your feet wet. But if you really want to get that Fijian experience, go off to one of the islands.
Yeah, perfect.
For sure.
Does anyone on here have any questions that we haven't answered? Bob it was so great and thorough, and we recorded it, so you can come back to it.
Perfect. I'm just looking at chat here.
I know.
Yeah, great. I showed a couple of videos, Bob. Singatoka River Safari.
Excellent.
And the landing at Yasawa Island Resort, which is my current favorite resort. I don't have favorites, but my last visit to Fiji was in December, and I was lucky to spend the weekend up at Yasawa Island Resort with Hannah, our PR manager, and I had the perfect day in Fiji on Saturday, December the 5th, and it was the last perfect day I've had. Okay. But it basically involved going to the Sawa Ilau caves, which when you go there, there's generally like a dozen or so people. That's a big crowd in Fiji. But that particular day, the four of us were the only ones in the caves. And there's a second cave that you have to swim underwater to get to, which this girl doesn't do. So they all went over there, and I got to float on my back and commune with nature for about 10 minutes in this world famous cave all by myself. It was amazing. Then they took us up to the very northern beach in the Asawas, which the resort has private access to, and we had a 3-hour picnic, just four of us, with some champagne, lobster, beer, the sort of things you need when you're deserted on an island. And then they came and picked us up, and they took us back to the resort, and just as we got undercover at the resort, the skies opened up for one of Fiji's famous afternoon rain showers. And I got back, I was in the honeymoon beret all by myself. It's the story of my life. And it was raining, and I had my own pool, and I decided to skinny dip in the rain in my own private pool. That night,
awesome.
I had a massage before dinner, and that is why it was the perfect day. And that is nothing special done for me. That is something that anyone can experience up at Yasawa Island Resort. So yes, we have travel agent updates, and we have a Matai program. So Bob can certainly help you out, you know, to figure that out. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I'll make sure that everyone here who's an agent, I can make sure, because I'm in it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I think this has been great, because I think that's helps us with I obviously don't know everything about this, but to be able, I wrote down a lot on my thing of trying to figure out how to get people to think differently about different locations. And this is one of them that I think I said at the very beginning that is overlooked or compared to the French Polynesia.
Right.
And they're very different, and for
very
great
different
reasons, but very different.
And Susan, if I can, I know we've been on here a long time, but just to speak, you know, about the T word, the Tahiti word, and we love Tahiti. We love Tahiti. They're our Polynesian cousins, and we had an ex-PR manager who used to work for Tahiti, and he said it really well. He said, Tahiti is about exclusive luxury.
Yes.
Fiji is about inclusive luxury.
Yep.
Okay.
I love that. I remember you saying that.
Tahiti is for your eyes. You go to Tahiti to be visually, you know, excited. You go to Fiji for your heart, and you will not come home from Fiji not being a different person, for having been reminded that there is somewhere on earth where people got it right and they're nice to each other and happy all day long.
And Susan, I think I told you this too, that a longtime Tahiti operator and owner who went to Fiji for the first time in the last 12 months, went to Fiji, he described it this way, and that, like Ruth said, visually, Tahiti is absolutely stunning. And so he says, when you arrive in Tahiti, you may come to tears because you're moved to that because of the visual. Because visually it's just stunning, and it brings you to tears. When you leave Fiji, you come to tears because you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That. Yeah, you did. You said that. I love that. And I've heard that from everybody who has gone and from agents. And so you just, you know, that says a lot. And that's why I'm going, hey, we want to get people there. And I'm amazed at how much diversity. I mean, I have scuba divers that have said, oh no, we can't get there. It's too expensive to, and I'm like, no, let's make this happen. Because I really, I'm married to a scuba diver, so I'm the scuba widow. But as I said to Alex, I said, I'm happy to sit there and drink on the beach. So that's, you know, my thing. And we are getting to a place, you hit it really well with, lots of times people go, well, I want to go to a location where I can go and be a part of a community. Well, while I absolutely love Mexico and the Caribbean, they're not safe for people to leave the resorts. So unless you're on a tour, but that's not what they want. They really want the resort experience, but they want to be able to walk around and shop and eat. And, you know, like I say to people, I want to go to Ireland and I want to go to a pub and hear a guy that's been there for 50 years tell us stories. You can't do that when you're in some of these locations. And so this is very, very exciting. I'm very excited to promote this and get people excited about it. I think it's going to be really great. The only thing that we have heard is that September 1st was becoming sort of a deadline. I think all it was saying is that United States is getting banned from everywhere in the world because we're so bad.
Yeah. I mean, believe you me, it's not because Fiji is not ready to welcome visitors and we are all waiting for this Bula bubble or Pacific bubble with Australia, New Zealand, you know, to start. But the reality is that until the US meets certain criteria that the Fijian government has laid out regarding you know, COVID cases and that sort of thing, we are not going to be allowed back in, and we're not really headed in the right direction at the moment. So
no, and I think we'll see what happens with the French Polynesia. I mean,
exactly. We're going to let our Polynesian cousins sort of take the hit for the islands, see what
how they see what that happens. I mean, they're struggling right now. I have people leaving in 2 days, struggling to get that rapid COVID test.
Right?
Yeah. So they're like, okay. Well, one said, "Oh, I got it last week." I'm like, "You have not read what I keep sending you, which is it has to be 72 hours or less." Trying to find that, and then I have one girl that's going to Hawaii in September to get married, and then going to Tahiti. So she gets one to go to Hawaii, and then has to get one on Hawaii to go to Tahiti.
Wow!
And so she's thinking about changing her trip, just getting married in Hawaii. And then she said to me last night, "I think we want to go to Fiji." And her fiance goes, "Wait, what?" And,
so there are flights to Hawaii to Fiji 3 times a week.
Exactly. Well, as you know, so she's got options, and I just said, I go, even if you just go right now and get married, her mom is a huge Kauai fan, which I love hearing Kauai because that's really the oldest and the greenest and islands and stuff like that. I hate saying anything bad about Maui. I've just been so many times, and Maui to me is like United States. And I don't want to go on vacation to the United States when I'm going to a tropical place. Right. I really don't.
Right.
I don't want to hear a bunch of United States people speaking. I want to be a part of a culture and not a part of a place that it reminds me of home. And so that's why I love going to the Caribbean or Mexico or Costa Rica. I love going to these places where I really feel like, you know, these people become my friends on Facebook. We interact. I love selling it. But I tend to pick smaller places and smaller resorts, and or I go back to a smaller resort and they know who I am when I come back. I like that. I like to be known. Hard to believe. Maybe it's my glasses. I'm not wearing my black ones today. They broke.
Oh no.
Well, I have about 12 pairs at home, but I do have green ones though. See, I do have these. I did get them in green. See, I got them green with leopard.
Oh, there you go.
Very cute. Very
cute. I have about 45 pairs. I can't see. So I wear 2.5 readers now. So I'm like, I can't see anything. And if it gets dark, that's the worst. So, but anyhow, I thank you guys so much. If anyone has any questions, please let us know. And then I'm not worried about booking right now for 21. So I have people asking me for 21. I always work with certain vendors so that I work a lot with Classic Vacations, and we have the cancel for any reason insurance.
Yep.
I just tell that because I tell them, hey, look, you don't want to, you want options. The people that were frustrated the last 4 months were people when I said, and here's your future credit. They're like, I lost my job. I'm not going on a vacation. I'm like, and that's, you know, so we're selling it that way, but I'm not worried about selling in 21. Would you agree with that right now?
I agree. And yeah, I mean, fingers crossed, and let's all do the right thing, people, and let's get this under control. Yeah. And
I know,
you know, let's get back out there.
Yesterday about a mask. There was a guy in front of me while we went to a lobster roll place. And this guy was yelling about, why do I have to wear a mask? And I went, all we're doing is ordering food. It's 5 minutes. And then we're picking it up and going home. And he's throwing a fit. And I was like, okay. So that's part of our problem right now. It's really, we have friends that live in Scotland. They're like, you guys kind of look like a joke.
Well, this is why, Susan, we need Fiji more than ever.
Amen. I want to go
at the beginning.
You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Baka baka levu, everybody, and we hope to welcome you home to Fiji very soon.
I can't wait. Okay.
Vinaka, Susan.
Mode Vinaka.